Today was Christmas Day. Essentially, like in the hockey world, this is as close as it gets.
In the hockey world, yeah, but for some, no.
Yeah.
Like, I don't see the comparison here.
No, I'm just saying. Well, it's more like
It's a gift.
it's like it's kind of done. Like all the trades are done.
You've opened up all your presents.
But it's like I want more. I want more deals. I want to read about more stuff. Like there's actual action going on.
Yeah, that is true.
This week was a lot of fun.
It was.
This week was a lot of fun watching hockey or following what's going on with all the trades and stuff like that. But now it's finally over. Now we can actually.
We know the answer.
Yeah, we know the answers to.
Should I stay or should I go?
I love that song for so many reasons.
Wow. That was inspirational. Oh. Anyways,
Glad I could be an inspiration to one.
thank you. I'm glad I was.
This is the Puck Boys podcast. We got Koos, we got Ding, we got Dulks.
Hello.
We're
I'm
just
not
gonna-
saying hi.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Do you want to just jump right into deals?
Of course.
Okay, so we'll start off with the ones that we'll go chronologically since we did our last podcast.
Yep.
First deal was between Boston, Minnesota. Charlie Coyle to the Boston Bruins in exchange for Ryan Donato and a 2019 fifth-round pick.
I love Charlie Coyle. Always have.
I think it just made sense for both teams. Like I've watched Coyle play like a good bit, especially with him being in the same division as the Jets and all. And I don't really think he's that great of a player. Like I see him more ideally on a third line than a second line,
Yeah.
on like an ideal NHL club. So, you know what? I guess Donato has more upside because we don't really know what he is yet. But people are saying, like, you know what, he could potentially be a top six forward, but he could maybe sort of miss that and kind of be what Charlie Coyle is, only younger and cheaper. So, I mean, I like it for both teams, I guess.
Yeah, it gives more cost certainty to Minnesota because they have the rookie contract with Donato. But I think Charlie Coyle is like the perfect Bruin. Like,
Yeah.
the Bruins have their style of hockey, and I think if there's anyone who fits that style, it's Charlie Coyle. He can bang bodies, grind in the corners, and also put the puck in the net every so often.
The biggest thing with him, though, is he plays all the positions up front.
Exactly.
So for them, that's like a real big piece. I see him more as the third line center of that team.
Going into it, I thought the plan was to try and find the winger for Krejci and DeBrusque. The plan was they obviously have their top line, but then the plan was to get the winger. You're right, Coyle has been known to play center and wing, but I think they will try and stack it. They'll put Krejci and DeBrusque together, and then they'll have that like solid top six of guys, and they'll keep the bottom six sort of the way it was before.
I think it's gonna be a matchup game, as far as that goes. I know that's what they were kind of going for off the bat, but I think if you're going up against the Leafs in the first round, it might be more ideal if you have Coyle playing a center spot. If you have to have somebody going up against Matthews or Tavares all night. Anyways, that's just my personal opinion. I like it for both teams.
Yeah, I like the upside on Donato, and I think Coyle fits Boston, and I think it's prime for a good playoff run. I don't think he's underperformed in playoffs at all. I know his Wild kind of always did, but
Value's the same. Boston gets better short term.
and was there a
Wild get
conditional
younger and
pick in there?
No, it's just a
was just-
2019 fifth rounder. So
Oh, okay.
it's nothing big. Next up was Washington Capitals acquiring Carl Hagelin for a 2019 third round pick and a conditional 2020 sixth round pick. It was actually really funny because it was reported that the Pittsburgh Penguins tried to reacquire Carl Hagelin from the Kings, but because they retained a portion
Salary.
of his salary, they were ineligible to reacquire him. I don't know how it all would
That's
have-
weird.
Yeah, it was weird.
I've never heard of
But
something
Washington
like that.
ended up, Washington.
I'd understand that, like why that's a rule, but
Yeah.
I've never heard of that being an issue before.
I'm surprised there's no rule about like how you can't trade a player or like reacquire a player within like a year's time or something like that. Or I wonder if
There's
there is even.
loopholes around it. Like you
Yeah,
look at
definitely, yeah.
Orpik with
You got traded,
traded
bought
Colorado.
out, and then
Oh yeah, bought out
re-signed.
and all that. Yeah.
Um,
I don't know. I think this is kind of just
we don't need to talk about this one much.
Capitals.
It's getting another roster player, hopefully,
for
for
the
a third.
this says way more about LA flipping Pearson for Hagelin and then flipping Hagelin for a third rounder and a conditional pick. Yeah, Pearson was a first liner and was like a solid third line forward.
Well, didn't
and
We'll
was
get
like
into it later, I
decently
guess.
young.
Because didn't Pearson get traded today?
Yeah, he
Yeah.
did. So we're gonna get.
We'll
into
get to
that.
his value later.
Yeah.
Big
Next
cheese.
one. Next one.
Big
We got
cheese.
a big one. We got a big one. We got Duchesne and Julius Bergman heading to Columbus, in exchange for Vitaly Abramov, Jonathan Davidson, a 2019 first round pick, and a conditional 2020 first rounder, if Duchesne resigns.
Okay, I think the real big piece here is Bergman going to Columbus. I think he's going to be a real impact in the playoffs for
Could you
them.
imagine if he actually ended up being something?
Plays like first line left wing
Look,
all of a sudden.
look
or
back
something.
on it, and yeah, Duchesne doesn't resign with Columbus. Sort of has a kind of washout, forgetful last 30 games, and then Bergman becomes like the stud blue liner that like
Yeah,
is the
yeah.
is the real meat of the trade. But anyway, I think it works super well. I still remember when this went down, the like freak show that was our group chat in terms of like holy shit, Columbus, like no way,
Yeah.
because no one saw this
Yeah.
one coming.
Everyone was thinking like going to the Nashville or the Winnipeg or something like that, and he ends up just, you know what? Columbus decided to put in all the marbles, and
I think
Well, now it makes sense why Tortorella was so pissed off when they kept asking, "Are you going to trade Bobby? Going to trade Panarin?" They were probably planning this all day long. They're like, "No,
Guys
we're
are
loading
idiots.
up. Like, what are you guys talking about? This selling shit? No, we're buying. We're all in."
yeah. And I wonder if this is like kind of a thing to try to keep Panarin and Bob there, being like, here, we're getting these players for you, and you can come play in Columbus, and
So about the prospects that they got, Abramov, he played pretty well in the QMJ, like from way back in the day. I remember watching him a little bit when he was coming up through Victoriaville as well. He was supposed to be like a really highly touted, like small offensive guy. He also almost made Columbus in his rookie year, but ended up getting cut, and he played another year in the junior, and now I think he's in the A now. But he's supposed to be like, he was their top prospect. He was their number one guy, and
wasn't Davidson up there as well?
Davidson was their number two. But the only thing with him, though, is it sounds a little fishy. Like, he was picked in the 6th round in 2016.
yeah.
Like, that's, like, pretty far. Like,
He-
that's
he-
not too far back. Like,
He's playing in
rised a
Sweden
lot,
though.
Yeah.
He's playing in Sweden, and that's I think
He's
that
playing
happens a
against
lot.
men, and yeah.
That happens a lot with some of those guys, especially if I'm not sure if he had been playing in Sweden his draft year or not, but that or like where he was playing. But that happens a lot where guys will jump into the elite league at 19, have like a really good season, and suddenly they're actually a really good prospect that
Yeah.
no one was really looking at. But I've heard of Abramov. Is it,
Yeah.
Abramov.
I'm not sure
yeah.
what the pronunciation is. I'm gonna go with Abramov. But I've actually heard of him before, and like Colin said, I thought he was a pretty good prospect. He was one of the surprise guys that did get games out of Columbus, out of camp that 2 years ago. But dude, I really like the return of the first and the conditional first for Ottawa. I think they got at least a pick in this year's draft now, which I think they were going to get no matter what, with what they were unloading. But
But you at least get something.
now you get one pick this year and hopefully another pick next year if he resigns.
And with Columbus being one of those teams that's kind of battling with everyone else, you don't know where that pick's going to be. Like, it could even be, like, from 15 to 20. Most likely
it
from
is
20 to
lottery
25,
protected
but-
though, right?
Yes.
Both of them are top 3 protected, in terms of
Okay.
the details on those picks, so they can keep them.
I don't know. Personally, I think if I had to make a deal with, I think that Ottawa could have gotten more value for Duchesne. But having said that, if you were to tell me I have to make a deal with Columbus, the 4 assets that Ottawa got would have been
The best deal.
the best deal. Like, you're taking their 2 best prospects and you're taking 2 first-round picks.
So you can't ask for too much more.
You can't ask for too much more than that. Like, I think David's going to project to be a decent bottom 6 forward. Abramov could be a top 6, and then you get 2 first-round picks for one guy who wasn't going to re-sign with you. That's a pretty good haul.
What do we think? Where do we think Duchesne fits in Columbus, though? Like, is he their first line center? Is he their second line center?
I think it's kind of a 1 and 2 hit with him and Dubois.
yeah.
it's
Like,
kinda like
what do you think they do
1A, 1B.
with their top 6?
It's
Because they're paying Dubinsky a shit ton of money, they're paying Wenberg money,
Mm-hmm.
but neither of them have really performed. Like, there's no way they're pushing Duchesne to the wing or Dubois to the wing, is there?
no. I think you have to have Duchesne and Dubois as your centers.
Okay.
Man, that's really tough.
We'll have-
I could see them going with Duchesne with Atkinson and Panarin as your top line,
Yeah.
and your second line be. I think Josh Anderson's played really well this season, and I think he's actually been given a lot of top six time. And the other guy on the Jackets who gets a lot of ice time too is Boone Jenner, and I could see like Jenner, Dubois, Anderson, like those are three guys that are all play like a grittier
Yeah, bigger
type
kinda,
of game, but they all have like a little bit of skill to kind of
Yeah.
balance it out. I think that's a nice defensive second line for Columbus if you were to go with that. And then you look at your top line, you get Atkinson, Duchesne, Panarin. Those are 3 point a game players.
I like the I like
Like,
the move.
that's-
Yeah.
That first line's nasty though.
I'm sorry. I'm reading their
Yeah.
lineup right now. Daily Faceoff has Panarin, Duchesne, Atkinson. Second line, Foligno, Jenner, Anderson. A third line, Dzingel, Dubois, Bjorkstrand.
Oh, I like Dzingel
I forgot about
and
Dzingel.
Bjorkstrand.
Yeah,
with
we're gonna
that.
get to that trade in
I
a
totally
bit,
forgot
but
about
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. I totally forgot.
and then you
Dzingel.
got Dubinsky, Nash, and Robinson on
Yeah.
the fourth line.
I
but-
love that they're going all in.
Yeah,
I
that's
love
a
that
good,
Columbus is putting in all their marbles in. They know they're losing, might be losing their goalie and probably their star player, and they're like, you know what, we're just gonna stock up and try to win this season. But having John Tortorella behind the bench helps too.
Okay, so this isn't technically chronological, but I'm gonna throw this deal in there just because we mentioned him already.
The Dzingel one?
Ryan Dzingel got traded to Columbus in exchange for Anthony Duclair, the guy who lacks
That's so
listening
weird
skills,
that he's in Ottawa.
and 2 second-round picks, one in 2020 and one from 2021. I like this deal a lot for Columbus. I get it from like both sides. I think 2 seconds is fair for Dzingel, and you're getting a replacement player who just so happens to be young. And you know what? You're gonna have to fill up your roster somehow. And this is a guy that, you know what, it's low risk, high reward sort of deal. Like if you can get Duclair to buy into your system and whatever, you know what?
Sorry,
there's a chance
you
that he
said
could be a serviceable player.
You said Boucher by accident. You meant Duclair.
I meant Boucher like the coach.
If you can get Duclair to buy
Yes,
into the system.
Yes, sorry.
Okay. One thing about this trade I don't like from Ottawa's point of view is I'm reading it's a second round pick for next year and the year after. It's neither of them are a second this year that they're getting. So to me that like obviously we know Ottawa's in a full rebuild and the idea is they're not going to be good next year probably or the year after that either. But to pick up a second round pick in 2 drafts, like to me that seems like it's like so far down the line. Is it like I would rather obviously get the second round pick this year.
Okay, well, first off, Columbus has a 3rd round pick this year and a 7th, and that's it.
That's all they have left?
Yeah,
Okay.
because the second was dealt in the deal with Vegas to take William Karlsson and protect all their other guys, and they sent a second and a 1st round pick, which ended up being Suzuki, and David Clarkson's contract. Yeah.
Yes.
And
Okay.
they flipped the second.
Okay.
Montreal.
And also, I could see them thinking about the future with like Columbus isn't going to be that good the next season.
Yeah, that's the other thing. I think
It's-
Columbus will be worse in 3 years than this
Yeah.
year.
So it's like, are you taking a late third this year? You're thinking that Columbus is going to be decent, or you're taking a high end second the year after. So you could see it from that perspective too.
And
Okay.
teams are definitely more willing to deal picks later on than.
Oh yeah.
I know it
Yeah,
is
like-
more value to get the second this year,
I
but
get what you're saying, though. It would have been nice to get more payment up front.
Yeah.
but for overall fit on the team, we just listed how Dzingel fits in the roster. I think it works really well for Columbus. It's another load up. Like, man, I can't believe they did this. Like, it actually
I
blows
know.
my mind that
I love
like
it though.
Yeah, I'm a
absolutely
big
love
fan.
it.
there was no talk of them being a buyer, and then they add the 2 big Ottawa guys, and then they add McQuaid and Kincaid later. But anyway,
They're 12 forwards deep, 6.
and 3
6
goalies.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they got Kincaid, too. Okay. Oh, we're going to get into that. We got further considerations deal between Florida and San Jose for Vincent Praplin.
Skip.
Yep, we're going to skip that one. We
Uh,
got a significant one. It was between Washington and Detroit on the 22nd of February. It was Nick Jensen and a 2019 5th-round pick were traded for Madison Bowie and a 2020 2nd-round pick. And Nick Jensen, after getting traded, signed an extension worth 4 years at $2.5 million per season.
Correct. I think this deal works really well for both sides.
I think Detroit wins this.
You think Detroit wins this one?
Totally.
You like Bowie a lot?
I like Bowie over
Or Bowie?
Bowie over Jensen. Personally, if I was looking at my lineup, I'd rather have Madison Bowie in my lineup than Jensen.
This is going to be one of those trades that's going to be a lot of wait and see to see if it actually ended up paying off, because
Yeah.
there's a chance, like, if you look at it on paper, Jensen was a plus player playing over 20 minutes a night for Detroit, who's one of the worst rosters in the league. So, looking at that, that's very impressive on his part, but maybe that's just because he didn't play as bad as people thought he was. Like, you kind of get what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah. I don't know. Just kind of seeing his numbers, like he first year with Detroit, he was a -8. He had 81 games, 15 assists, and that was all he had for points. Next year, 60 games played. Well, I guess that's this year. 60 games played so far, 2 goals, 13 assists, 15 points. Same kind of thing, +1. The fact that he's +1, that's actually great for a team like Detroit. But I guess you do already have the offense in Washington, so you don't need any more of that. So I guess this is kind of get a defensive defenseman in the mix.
I look at it like Bowie is not NHL ready right now. He is a former second-round pick, and like there was a lot of speculation about him, but or not speculation, but like upside to him.
yeah.
Potential. That's the word I was looking for.
the word.
Potential
Yeah.
with him. But he has had issues in Washington. He hasn't been able to crack the roster consistently. There was the whole Instagram weed smoking thing like
Yep.
3 or 4 years ago when he
Nice.
was a rookie, which
Nice.
gotta remember that one. That
Nice.
was a fun time.
Good guy.
Oh, fuck. Do you
Oh,
guys remember
Oh,
watching
yeah.
that video?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, good old Manitoba boy, Winnipeg boy.
exactly. Anyway, I'm going to just continue. So I think for Washington, getting Jensen means they get to serve as like a top 6 defender for right now, whereas Bowie could be the top 6 defender that they want in a couple years, maybe
Yeah.
next year. But right now, I think it helps their playoff push if they want to. They're trying to repeat, obviously, and I think they got him at a really good deal too, at 2.5 for 4 years. Like you got him locked in,
Yeah.
and I think like
They were saying like he might be not even bottom pair D, like he might be like a 4 or 5.
Yeah.
So a 4, and I like when I hear that, I'm thinking Kempney.
dude,
And
that's
they
exactly.
And they signed the exact same contract.
yeah.
And the other thing
They paid a lot more than they did for Kempney though. Kempney was like a 6th round pick last year. It was nothing they traded for Kempney last year.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I remember it was a very cheap trade to Chicago.
But now they got Orlov, Kempney, Jensen, and Carlson all lucked up for this year
Plus,
plus.
I like the move for both teams, like I was saying earlier. I hope Bowie turns it around and becomes something for Detroit for it to
I would
work
like
out.
to see it too. It makes sense for both teams. I think as far as like value in the deal itself, I would take Detroit. But the fact that Washington was able to extend Jensen to a cap-friendly deal, I can see why they did the move.
Yeah,
as
and they're in a win now situation where Detroit is a rebuild kind of thing.
Next deal on the list, we have the Dallas Stars making a couple moves here. Trading for defenseman Ben Lovejoy in exchange for defenseman Connor Carrick and a 2019 third-round pick. This can be pretty quick.
Don't know if Carrick's played much for Dallas this year. Has he?
Yeah, he's played a few games. Yeah, because they've had so many injuries this year.
Yeah, they have had a lot of injuries on D, but I think Lovejoy is just a better NHL defender. Obviously the veteran of the two of them. So they upgrade Carrick with a third for Lovejoy.
I see him fitting in on that third pair because I think come playoff time, I think you're going to want to play Lovejoy over Honka.
Okay.
And I think that he would fit better on the third pair and have Johns and Klingberg above him in the depth chart. So I like it for Dallas. It gives you a guy you can use on the PK.
Let's talk about their real move they made, though.
Dealing for Matt Zuccarello, they dealt 2 conditional picks, a 2019 second-round pick that can be increased to a first-rounder if the Dallas Stars
Win
make it
2
past
rounds, right?
2 rounds.
Yeah.
And there's a conditional 2020 third-round pick, which is if that can turn into a first-round pick in 2020 if Zuccarello signs an extension.
Yes,
So,
the second can become a first for playoff success, and the third can become a first if he resigns.
Yes.
I love conditions.
I think,
I think they're so cool.
That's what makes this deal fair.
Yeah.
Because if you look at it and your team makes it to the Final Four and you extend a top 6 forward to that, that's worth 2 firsts. It is. If you get a top 6 forward, don't make it far in the playoffs, but then extend them, that's a first and a second.
Yeah.
And if you're just getting a rental and you end up losing and you don't get them over the offseason, you know what? That's a second and third. Like, that's fair. You don't lose.
Yeah.
You still have your first. Like,
I think that's really cool to think it in like those terms of like equaling it out if it did happen or did not happen.
And I find sometimes it's something stupid where it's like, yeah, the fourth becomes a third if you made the final or something. But no, there's two reasonable conditions in this trade, and just like both of you guys, I think they make sense. Like, it just sucks that he got hurt in the first fucking game.
He got
like
two
we already
he got 2 points too.
3 points.
He was at 3.
He had 3 points. Yeah, I think he had 2 goals and an apple, and then he got hurt in the third.
Damn.
that must be, well, the only thing is I thought the Rangers could get like more guaranteed assets back because there's a chance they could just get a second and a third.
Yeah,
And it could have gotten more value than that for Zook.
I've heard some stuff that he might be like re-signing with the New York Rangers because he loved that place.
Yeah.
And that place loved him.
But I also could have seen him being a really good fit in Dallas and loving life there, but now he's not going to play hockey with them till playoffs, it looks like.
Yeah.
Because they said he's out 4 weeks with a broken arm or something.
They said he's going to have surgery on it, so that's pretty fucking serious. And yeah, it just really sucks for both obviously the player and the team.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just timing. Timing's a bitch.
Yeah.
You guys saw that video of Lundqvist?
Yes.
Yeah, talking
Talking about missing Zuccarello.
Yeah.
This was like that fit Zuccarello to Dallas. There's like always that one fit that like you know that this guy's gonna go there. To me, that was like the one slam dunk in my opinion. That like whenever I was looking like all the names, it's like, oh yeah, Zuccarello's definitely gonna go to Dallas because that's exactly what they need. A top 6 winger who can kind of drive a line on his own. He's been able to do it in New York for a while. I like the move for Dallas.
Yeah, no,
it's good.
Next deal on the list, we got this was a good one actually. It was Brandon Montour getting traded to the Buffalo Sabres. Anaheim finally blowing up that young top 4D that everyone's been loving for so long, in exchange for defenseman Brendan Goulet and a conditional 2019 first-round pick.
I like it.
Why do you like it?
I think him coming into the back end with Buffalo is going to help out. I think the fact that they have Dahlin and him now as like their young guys on, because Montour's left-handed or right-handed?
Montour's right-handed.
There's your future right there. You got your left-handed guy and your right-handed guy, and then you got Ristolainen and all them kind of helping them out and bringing them up through the ranks. I think it's a good trade for them.
I like Buffalo's defense a lot now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like 1 to 6, they've got guys who can play. You have, because the other guy you didn't mention, Ristolainen.
I said Ristolainen.
Yeah, Ristolainen, Montour, and Bogo is your top 3D on your right side. And your left side, you got Dahlin, McCabe, Scandella, and you got Hunwick as your spare. That's...
I just wish Buffalo wasn't so far out of the playoff run. I wish this was like they were like
Yeah.
4 points out or like 2 points out, so that way this was more of like a playoff push situation.
To be fair, their problem this year hasn't, in my opinion, been their defense. It's been shakier goaltending and lacking of depth scoring, and they didn't address either of those. But I think those are issues for this year. I think long term, you know what, looking at your defense, yeah, maybe getting a younger defenseman probably works because, you know what, McCabe doesn't really have a high ceiling. Bogo and Scandella are only going to get older and they're making a lot of money. This just adds a nice puck-moving defenseman to play opposite of Dahlin or on a separate line as him. And if you look at it from Anaheim's perspective, you're getting a young defenseman back who, if he's not going to play on the Ducks right now, he's probably only a couple years away realistically. And you're getting a pick. And it is I said a conditional first, but what I meant by that was it is a first. It's just between St. Louis's or San Jose. They just don't know yet. But I believe it is the worst of the firsts.
what I'm seeing notes here. The first rounder, word for word, the first rounder headed to Anaheim is San Jose's, but the Ducks have the option to select St. Louis's if it's between number 21 and 30.
Okay, that makes sense.
So the Ducks can choose the better pick if the San Jose pick is in the 20s. That's how it works.
Yeah.
Okay. I think it's actually one of the only deals that was made that wasn't to a clear buyer. Like yes, I think obviously the Sabres were the buyer and Anaheim was the seller in the situation, but the Sabres aren't buying for the playoffs this year. They're buying because Montour has term and because they're hoping to keep him on the team for a couple of years, not to push for the playoffs this year because they're a couple points they're too far out, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting. I like it.
I know it's more of like an off-season type trade that you see rather than a deadline type trade. But
they have a couple guys they can call up. Jacob Larson was a first-round pick from them. They're expecting that they're probably going to be calling him up, or they're going to call up Suster, who was a defenseman for Tampa Bay for a couple of years, and he's not bad and can fill in a bottom pair role for Montour. But yeah, I like it for both teams. What was the next one we got here? We got another future considerations for Nicolas Baptiste between Toronto and Nashville. Just going to skip over that one. We got a good one here. Late on Saturday night, the San Jose Sharks traded Gustav Nyquist Detroit Red Wings traded Gustav Nyquist to San Jose for a 2019 second-round pick and a conditional third-round pick in 2020.
What's the condition?
The condition is the third-round pick in 2020 becomes a second-rounder if the Sharks make the finals or Nyquist resigns.
Yes.
Okay.
So they have both outs for that pick to be upgraded.
Really like this for the Sharks.
Honestly,
really surprised that you couldn't get a first for Nyquist.
I was going to say, I don't think Detroit got enough for this trade.
I was going to say this exact same thing. It was like when I was looking at the stats of Nyquist over the years, like he's consistently over like 40 points, kind of getting good amount of goals, good amount of points. And I always thought if I was trading for him, it would have been for a first. Or if I was giving him away, it would have been for a first.
Well, the bigger thing is between Nyquist and Zuccarello, I like both a lot. But I think if you have to give me one for long term and this year, like which one am I going to take? I would take Nyquist.
Yeah.
And the fact that if Dallas made it to the final and signed Zook, it's 2 firsts. And the fact that they could win the cup with Nyquist and re-sign him and it's only 2 seconds.
Yeah, I think the same deal.
How do you figure that
I know
Zuccarello's worth that much better than Nyquist? Like,
in the end, it could end up being that Nyquist is traded for more if San Jose makes it to the final or re-signs him and Zook doesn't re-sign and if none of the considerations happen. But you're right. I think they're very similar in terms of their value. If one was a second and a third with 2 first possibilities, I think Nyquist should have been like the exact same.
Yeah.
In terms of the terms, but
especially if you look at Dzingel getting 2 seconds in Duclair.
Yeah, exactly.
And I have Nyquist. Nyquist is way better than Dzingel.
He's a full line ahead.
Yeah.
So I think Detroit kind of got not essentially fleeced or anything, but I think they could have got more. They could have got more.
They could have done better.
But for San Jose, I think this is beautiful for their top 6.
This is a beautiful. It's a nice guy to add to your top 6 for sure. Plays both wings. I see him playing right wing with Kane.
Okay.
Because I think that Nyquist. I don't think Nyquist ever shoots. I think Nyquist is one of those guys that just feeds all day long, and Kane is one of those guys that will...
He shoots a lot.
...finish a game with, 5 shots a game. So I see that fit kind of working
So you
out.
see, Donskoy kind of going down, and then him sliding in with Hurdle and Kane?
Yeah.
I like that line. Because you would probably keep the top line of the Meyer, Couture, and Pavelski because they've been lighting it up.
Hurdle,
Kane, and then Donskoy is the right winger on that line.
Oh, yeah, you're kicking. Yeah, Donskoy's getting kicked.
Yeah.
What I'm reading on Daily Faceoff right now is they have Meyer, Couture, Pavelski, Kane, Hurdle, Donskoy.
Oh, they have Gustav on here.
I would do Kane, Hurdle with Nyquist.
And then they have Goose, Thornton, and LeBlanc together on the third.
I like that line actually a lot. They had Sorensen with LeBlanc and Thornton, and that was one of their best lines for a good bunch of energy guys playing all in one line.
yeah, obviously I haven't played a game with this lineup yet, but this is like maybe it was at practice or it might just be the projected lineup, but
I would not be surprised if you put Donskoy with LeBanc and
Thornton?
and then Kane with Hurdle and Nyquist, then Meyer with Couture and Pavelski. I think that kind of works out.
yeah, I think
But-
we all kind of
That's just a disgusting top 9. Like let's not get carried away here. That's gross.
dude, and then you got Carlson and Burns playing 30 minutes together, like, or I guess the whole game essentially.
I'm not crazy about the fourth line for the Sharks. I'm not a big Melker Carlson guy or that Goudreau guy. I'm not a huge fan of those guys, but that's a fourth line.
Okay, is Eric Carlson hurt?
Yeah, he is.
Yes,
He's
growing.
growing.
Okay.
Moving on to the next deal, the Ottawa Senators acquired Brian Gibbons in exchange for Patrick Sedloff. I only know him because he's the guy who ran Clark MacArthur in
Senators practice.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
that
then
was
Bobby
him.
Ryan came up and kicked his ass.
That's embarrassing.
Yeah. So Ducks adding some toughness. Next up, you got this is a weird one. Columbus Blue Jackets acquiring Keith Kincaid for a 2022 fifth-round pick.
Yeah, this one made no sense to me when I saw this trade. One, I thought Kincaid was worth more than a 2 years in the future 5th-round pick. Like,
I don't get it. I really don't.
This okay. So first off, the second I saw this, I'm like, okay, so that's your replacement for Bob. I think that's what.
That's exactly what I thought.
so it'll be Korpisalo and Kincaid next year, and
Yeah.
that to me that kind of makes sense too. But like it seems weird to have made this move now. Like, why not wait till free agency or the draft when you actually like don't have Bob anymore? Obviously they didn't give up
Why
much.
not?
They didn't give up much in a.
Also, that,
Exactly. So it's like we like you. You can have a little bit of experience playing with the team, getting to know people, getting to know the city.
But
a
how
little
much- how
bit,
much is he
get a
really
little
gonna-
test drive?
How much is he really gonna play? Like, I don't think he's gonna play at all. Like, Bob will play 90% of the games. Korpisalo will play the other 10, and
Next year, I think it's gonna be split time.
I know, but for like the rest of this year, like you mean getting Kincaid accustomed to
Yeah.
the team, but he'll probably just be the AHL goalie. Like, and the other thing is they have Oscar Dance down there, like
He's
Vegas. Sorry, they have another prospect down there though. I thought they did, in terms of
you're
the
right.
A.
I think we talked about it last
Yeah,
week.
they have Elvis, don't they? Merzlikins? That's one of them.
Okay, maybe I'm
Also-
out of my depth. It seemed like a weird move to me.
I thought it seemed kind of like a weird move, but I feel like right now getting a goalie is easier than it would be over the offseason because if Bob leaves, all these teams are going to know they'll pay a little bit to get a Keith Kincaid or something like that. So I feel like the fact that they gave 2022 fifth round now, they might be giving a third in 2022 or something during the offseason because teams know they need another goalie.
I totally to be totally honest, I was thinking that Columbus would be a little bit more creative, and I thought they were going to go for Reimer over the offseason to help back up and then take an asset from Florida and essentially just trade it for a low draft pick and just take on a bad contract and have Reimer just play
Yeah.
as like a 1B or a backup or whatever for your team for a few years until Korpisalo kind of sells himself into a starting role.
I don't know.
On the terms of New Jersey, I kind of like the move though because obviously you can't do anything with Corey Schneider right now. He's immovable.
Yeah.
But Wedgwood's played really well since he's been there. And then they also had I think Mackenzie Blackwood played there
Blackwood,
this
yeah.
year too, and he's been
He's
really
been doing
good.
Great as well.
So I think it makes sense for New Jersey to just get Kincaid out of the way for these young guys.
Yeah, he was the black sheep. He was gonna, I think.
Well, they weren't
be
going to
out at some
re-sign.
point.
They weren't
Yeah,
going to
they
re-sign him, but
I'm really excited to watch Columbus. Like I think I'm gonna start watching Columbus games just to see like their top 6, their top 9 even.
But it's even their top 4D are
And
good
their
too,
D-
and they
and
also
their
have a
D-
Vezina guy in the net. Like
It's insane. And then you have Tortorella behind the bench, answering phone calls from mothers of the interviewers. Did you guys see that as well?
oh,
I
yeah.
saw the headline. I never clicked on the video.
Basically, it was John Tortorella was doing an interview or doing his press conference or whatever, and someone had their phone, I guess, recording. And it was up on the podium, and it started buzzing,
Okay.
and it wasn't like ringing; it was just vibrating. And so it said like his mom
Call
or whatever.
from-
So he's like, "Hey, Mrs. Reed, how you doing?" and like just like answered. She's like, oh, like I'll leave you alone. Or he's like, no, I'd rather be talking to you than your son right now,
Whoa.
because his phone was going off.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
He hates when phones go off. So it was actually pretty funny. It was kind of a cute little thing I think Tortorella did.
And it was about 10 a.m., I believe, that the Winnipeg Jets decided to make their first of many trades today.
Biggest one too.
They started with the biggest one.
Yeah, I think they had 7 throughout the day. We're going to run down all of them right now, but the biggest one for sure, the Winnipeg Jets acquired center Kevin Hayes from the New York Rangers in exchange for left winger Brendan Lemieux, 2019 first-round pick, and a conditional 2022 fourth-round pick, depending on whether the Winnipeg Jets win the Cup this year.
We're hoping that first round's basically a early second.
And we give them a conditional fourth.
Yes.
Big fan of this deal.
Yeah, I am too.
You're not. I don't think you're giving up what Kevin Hayes is worth.
Really?
I'm surprised no other team gave more than this, especially because there's not even a condition on whether he resigns or anything like that.
Well, I think that's because him resigning is a lost cause.
I know, but I'm saying like that's like from the Jets' point of view why they didn't have any conditional picks with it, but why wouldn't any other team
Offer a better deal with
a conditional
those type of
yeah.
conditions?
And I'm also surprised why the Rangers didn't even re-sign him, because I think he still kind of fits that mold. I think having him and Zibanejad up the middle is a pretty good 1-2 punch.
Yeah, and he's still young.
He
Like,
can
he's
still play. He
26.
can play multiple forward positions.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. It's the Rangers' loss. I'm totally okay with him fitting into our top 6. Like,
Oh no.
fuck yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
6. Oh yeah, I hate having a 6'5"
220
skilled
power
top 6
forward.
Yeah, exactly. Like fuck. Thank you.
And the fact that we only gave up a first.
We
A
dealt
conditional fourth,
Lemieux
and-
while his value was so high.
It was at his peak.
And he was also up at the end of the year. So I think what it all came down to was who would you rather have between Appleton and Lemieux as that last forward spot? And I think they kind of determined we want Appleton, and Appleton has another year till he's an RFA, and
That
his deal
is the big
up.
deal
and
for
that's
me.
the bigger deal.
Is that Appleton can be our
You're
fourth
saving $1
line?
million. You're saving $1 million by just keeping the younger,
Yeah.
cheaper guys. So it makes sense.
I really like the move. I don't think I'm as big a fan as you guys are about the move, but I think losing Lemieux is probably the best forward out of the starting team that I would have liked to lose. Appleton because of the 1 year left. But I'm just because of Lemieux's he got suspended earlier in the year, that kind of put a sour taste in my mouth. I still haven't really forgiven him for that hit because it was so dirty.
Yeah, it was bad.
So he does have high value right now. He has been hot with that fourth line, but I think it's a good upgrade. We dump our 12th best forward for probably our 5th or 6th best forward now with Hayes coming in.
Yeah.
So
I was gonna say, who do you like more, Little or Hayes?
I mean, Hayes, but it depends what you're going for. It depends what you want.
Yeah, if you're talking
Little is a second line center on like a defensive minded second line. Like if I want to, like it more or less just depends for what I'm going for. Hayes can get points.
Yeah.
Hayes walks onto the team as our worst defensive center, but our second best offensive one. So he's probably going to get a lot of offensive starts, and I wouldn't be surprised if he has a better points per game with the Jets than he does with the Rangers.
Oh, of course he is.
Even though, he's not going to get nearly as much minutes, but he's just going to have a way better quality of ice time.
Exactly, yeah.
Which I think is
what kind of minutes was he playing in New York?
he was
you know?
playing first line.
Yeah,
Or
he was
him and
first line,
second
him
line,
and
yeah.
Zibanejad were kind of the 1-2 there.
1-2, yeah.
But now he'll be Scheifele's number 1, and him and Little will kind of be the 2-3.
Yeah, because with the Jets, it was like I was kind of hoping it was like going to be an upgrade from Little, but looking at it, it's kind of like, yes, he has the upside, but he's also a little bit worse on defense, so it's kind of like a even field.
Okay,
with
I
both
say
of them.
worse on defense. When I say that, like
He's still
I mean,
a 6'5", 220.
like he can still play defense. It's
Yeah.
just in my opinion, Little, Lowry, and Scheifele are all
are just
very
so
good.
good at D.
Yeah, it's just like he kind of just. Like I guess he's the worst, but it's not a bad thing by any
Yeah,
means.
exactly.
Yeah, Hayes averaging 20 minutes a night for the Rangers, so.
That'll probably get knocked down to 17.
But his points per game on the
16.
team is, I think it's third best actually among forwards on the Jets. So
I also really like the move for a power play. I think it doesn't change the top line, but I think it really gives the second line and just even
gives
more
another
power.
guy, gives another
Yeah.
dude who you can kind of throw in there and say, you know what, maybe you can make this work. I'm not sure who you would see there. Like, there's so many combos you can do. We could go on about.
Our peak P.
It's gonna be funny because you're gonna be sitting a guy on the power play, like a guy like Perot or Roslovic. Little's probably not on the power play.
Yeah, there's
There's only so many spots you can give to forwards.
there's too much talent on this team. That's the problem,
Yeah,
guys.
yeah, that's a good problem to have. It's a real good one. I'm just gonna fill over or just go over all the other Winnipeg Jets moves, and we can talk about them all all in one go because everyone else is essentially just a depth piece for us.
Yep.
So the Winnipeg Jets also reacquired Matt Hendricks
Love it.
from the Minnesota Wild for a 2020 7th rounder. Loved every bit of that because that is your replacement for Lemieux. That's your gritty, healthy scratch fourth line guy. The only difference is this guy can also take faceoffs.
And he can PK like crazy.
And he also knows everyone in the room. Like he's
Oh, I've heard Matt Hendricks is one of like the best guys in the locker room.
yeah.
I think his nickname was like Lunchbox or something, or there's some kind
I
of
don't know. Like
there's that's
that's a good nickname to have.
it's from it's a thing. Like they called him Lunchbox, or
Because you bring him to work every day or something.
yeah,
like that.
or there was a comment about him being a lunchbox forward, or like it's some kind of thing,
Boxer.
and it totally made sense. Like my mom referenced it today, and I was
Yeah.
like, I remember that being a thing.
Yeah.
He's a lunch pail type of player.
Yeah.
And
Bring a lunch pail to work and just grind it out.
Was a big fan of that one.
Oh,
also
yeah.
low risks, a 7th round
It's a
pick.
seventh round pick.
Oh,
unless you got the
we're gonna get
density.
into that. So that's a 7th rounder for that, right?
Yep.
Weren't done there. They hopped in the bargain bin and they've got Nathan Beaulieu for a 2019 6th rounder. Montreal traded him to Buffalo for a 3rd rounder, and now they flipped him for a 6th. So I think
I
that's,
did. I
That was in
forgot
like
that
in the
was-
off season. I
Yeah,
think. It was.
I forgot that was a 3rd for him. That's okay. I honestly, when I saw that trade, I like instantly thought of you because I was like, oh, he's still on Montreal. No, he's on Buffalo.
So this guy, he's pretty talented. He's definitely talented enough to play in the league,
Yeah.
but holy fuck, he'll cost you. There's some games where like he'll make a stupid decision or turn the puck over, and it's always at like the worst possible
So,
time.
like a Gardner, like a Jake Gardner.
He's like Gardner Game 7, but like on steroids, like regularly.
Like, there's so if he's playing third pair, it's
Yeah.
perfect because you get to see how talented he is, but he's not on the ice enough for him to get scored on.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't exactly call him like an offensive D. Like he is good in the corners, he just makes stupid plays. Like
Yeah. Clear it through the middle and shit like that. And
oh dude, yeah, it's and I guess that's kind of why I didn't really like him as much with Montreal, just because like when he played for Montreal, he was the best left-handed D. So they were like, "Hey, you have to be a number 3 defenseman, go," and that's pretty hard to do for a guy like this. Anyways, that was for a 6th rounder, right? They also acquired Bogdan. Oh, for fuck's sake!
Do it.
Kyslovic, defenseman for the Florida Panthers,
Not bad.
for a
I literally have no idea who that is, by the way.
2021 7th rounder. I saw them sign him, and apparently there was like a lot of teams that were like in on him for like a 1-year deal, and they said he was supposed to be like a decent bottom pairing guy. And
Yeah.
if you look at his stats, he looks like a decent bottom.
pairing.
How many games played does he have? Because
32.
Yeah.
32 games with the Panthers.
but none of that was really injury. It was mostly all like healthy
scratch. Yeah,
scratches
Like he's a 6'7" defenseman.
on a non-playoff team. So I think just more than likely for us, he's another 8.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, kind
Well,
of.
we're gonna get into that a bit. The other deals, Trump. We also dealt Nick Patan for Par Lindholm. Was another deal that we made.
It's another like defensive center, kind of like a Matt Hendricks, but just younger.
Lindholm can also play all forward positions, and I don't think he's supposed to be in the lineup. I think he's going to be a healthy scratch for us for
I think he will be as
a
well.
good bit. But the big thing for me, okay, so I do think Patan's obviously younger. I think he has more upside than Lindholm, just based
Yeah.
on what I've seen from Junior and you know what what I've heard from everybody.
Yeah.
I would rather have Lindholm right now because Lindholm has played all 61 games for the Leafs. You're getting a guy who has played every single game, who's got like their legs warm and whatever. Patan, when's the last time he's even suited up for a game? Like, I don't want a guy who hasn't played an NHL game in 5 months.
I did not know that Pars Lindholm played all 61 for the Leafs.
He also has 1 goal. So he's not that
That's
great.
that's shocking. I thought he was like in another lineup. He was there like Freddie Gauthier.
No, like this guy's been consistently on that fourth
Yeah.
line.
Really?
Yeah.
If I had to guess, I would have not said every game this year, but I
Yeah.
knew it was like 55 of 60 or something
I
like
would have
that.
said like half. Yeah, but that's good. And I do totally agree with you. You don't want a guy who's sitting around. I'd rather a guy who's been playing, has fresh legs, and especially for a team like the Leafs,
and honestly,
they're good.
in terms of like for Batan's sake, I think it's almost time to like let him try and blossom somewhere else. Like it might just be time for like a change of scenery. Like we've had him since he was drafted, and he's never really been able to find a spot on the NHL team.
It's like,
So
we can't give you the opportunity. Hopefully, someone
not
else
that
can.
the Leafs have like
It's more us
holes.
owing it to him. Like it's,
That's what I'm saying. I think it's good for him to just sort of like give him a change of scenery. Hopefully, he can crack that roster because he doesn't look like he's going to crack ours.
yeah, we're not losing much.
So
It's not a big deal. And then the last one was a future considerations for Alex Broadhurst from the Columbus Blue Jackets. Columbus making another deal. They are making just as many deals as the Jets. So, anyways, as far as the NHL roster is set,
How would you like it?
okay, so
Because we were in agreement.
okay, yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of looks you can have to your forwards, but I guess you're gonna have Lindholm and Hendricks as your scratch.
Yep.
And both guys can play center and left wing and right wing, and it's awesome.
So
I love
whoever's
that. I love
injured,
that.
whoever's.
Yeah, and then you
Yep.
got your fourth line of Kopp, Lowry, Tanev.
Oh,
Which,
it's back. It's back. It gives you chills.
yeah,
It gives you goddamn chills.
yeah, which I really like. And then there's a bunch of combinations you can do with the forwards. The one that
I have the Jets
I was gonna say,
lines if you want me to read them.
I was gonna go look at the. Daily
well, does that
Faceoff as well.
include Hayes?
Yes, Daily Faceoff has Line Shifley, Wheeler,
Okay.
That's what
Connor,
they've been playing too.
Connor, Hayes, Ehlers, Perot, Little, Roslovic, and then the fourth line you
Yeah.
guys talked about of Kopp, Lowry, Tanev.
I love it.
See, that's probably the lineup I'm going with, but there's so many different kind of looks that you can put
Yeah.
to it. Like the one I just mentioned before, you could kind of do like your duos, because there is 6 forwards of that group that are better than the rest. So you could do a Shifley Wheeler and then throw like a utility guy like Perot with them.
Yeah,
And then have Connor and Ehlers. I thought they were the 2 best players against Arizona.
they were.
I thought they were both like
I
really
thought they
good.
were
I
the-
thought Ehlers was insane.
I thought they were the 2 best players against Vegas the game before as well.
Yeah, I thought they were
that's-
really good with Little in the middle. So whatever's happening there works. And putting like a third line of Hayes and Line, just put the 2 6'5" lanky ass dudes together and see what they can do. And you would throw Roslovic with them.
Speedy little
yeah,
fucker.
Yeah, a speedy little guy who just works. Like
Yeah.
and that's just like a totally. And they could just, you know what? You could always throw Connor with Hayes and Roslovic and have Line with Ehlers and Little. Like there's so many different kind of things that Maurice can do here. I'm really curious to see what he does.
Yeah.
The bigger thing for me is if you look at their defense, Morrissey got hurt against the Coyotes,
Yeah.
and they don't know how long he's out for. And people were kind of curious to see what they do at the deadline. Well, they acquired 3 defensemen.
Yeah.
So
This D is not looking very good without Morrissey and Buff.
Dude, with the injuries, we look a lot weaker, but
But then you go back up to
why
the
I'm happy-
forwards
that's
and
why
it's
I was,
fine.
That's why I was happy that we dealt. I think they only actually got 2. They got that Keslovich guy and Beaulieu. But I'm still happy that they traded for multiple guys because it's like, you know what? If one of them doesn't work out, you can just throw in somebody else in that spot and say, you know what, maybe you can work. And
Yeah,
especially
you
if
could
it's
try.
like a 6th and a 7th, like that's
Yeah.
totally good. Just
to me,
make sure you're.
that's the biggest thing is they gave up nothing. It's all 6th and 7th round picks, other than for Hayes in terms of their trades, and Patan, who's an AHL career AHLer for us so far. So
Honestly, looking at this team, yes. So if Morrissey and Bufflin and Morrow are all out, that's gonna be a little rough. But I don't think we're totally screwed. So just by looking at it, I think your top 6 defensemen would be Trouba, Myers, and probably Sherratt on the right side.
okay,
And then looking on the left, you could probably go Kulikov, Beaulieu, and Niku. And have
That's
that
not ideal.
Keslavec, or whatever the hell his name is, as your
your
spare.
scratch.
What
And I
about
don't think Bufflin's out long term,
What
is he?
about Morrow as well?
Morrow's out for a couple more weeks,
Oh, is
anyways.
he?
Yeah.
We heard last I saw on Buff was he was out for the road trip. Like he was out for
Okay.
it was like 3 games, and so I think it's
So
two
he'll be
two
back
of two.
tomorrow.
Yeah, I think it. Are we home tomorrow?
Yeah, Minnesota.
Okay, so I think there's a chance he plays tomorrow, or at least they're reevaluating him. I haven't heard anything about it. Man, I'm pumped about the Jets this year.
Yeah, it's looking. I like what we're doing.
The only thing I'm worried about is if this Morrissey injury is more than like just the regular season, or
If it's like a 5 to 6 month thing, that would really suck.
dude, even if it's a month, like even if it's the Zuccarello injury, if he misses the whole rest of the regular season, that makes it that he's like slow start playoff. Like if he's
Yeah.
not got his
Didn't
feet
that
under
happen
him.
last year though, with the Jets in the playoffs? Wasn't it like there was a few guys injured
Bufflin
Just be-
wasn't
like-
healthy.
just before, and I think Morrissey was the same thing. He was injured.
Didn't
for-
Myers get hurt during a game
It
too?
was something like
It
that.
was weird. He went
It
to
was
like
Myers,
the boards really
yeah.
weirdly, but then played the next game. It was,
Yeah.
anyways.
So it's like we've kind of done this already, and hopefully we can do the
But
exact same thing again.
Honestly, I'm okay with it happening now, and as long as it's not totally serious, I love it because now you're gonna be able to tell who your guys are ranked. Like on defense, you got your Morrissey, Trouba, Myers, and Buff.
Yeah.
But basically, from like your 5th defenseman to your 11th, it could fluctuate
It's
a lot.
toss-up.
It's a toss-up.
Yeah.
And you know what? You're gonna have to figure out who are your best guys to put on the ice, because come playoff time, you're gonna have 2 answers on your left side.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right now, who do you think those guys are?
I would probably go with Beaulieu, and I'm not.
I want to say Niku, but
Honestly, it would probably be the guys who've played on this team the whole year, like the guys who've
Sherrod,
already
Kulikov?
Sherratt and Kulikov.
yeah,
Now that I'm thinking about it, just because they know the system and like they're for the familiar faces, but
I would say those guys too, just because they've been here the whole time. And
they
the
know
other thing is,
system.
like, let's not kid ourselves here. Like, Beaulieu was scratched for the Sabres for a good portion of the year. Like, he's only played 30 games.
Yeah.
So, like, what gives him the right to overtake a guy who's had a roster spot this whole time, and he's not that much better? Like, he's gonna have to prove that he's better than the other guys. So this is gonna say a lot more about Beaulieu. And you know what this also is? This is an interview for these guys.
that's what I'm thinking
Because
is
guess what? Myers is gonna be gone. There's gonna be roster spots available on this team and on others too. So you're basically interviewing, or you're just working for your next contract with, if not us, with another team.
Should be interesting.
I want to move on to a different
we're
trade
gonna.
here
I was just gonna
because
say I
we
think
did a
kinda
lot of
wrapped that
Jets.
up. We wrapped that up kind of nicely. We got Jerko for Cliff Poo.
Don't care.
Yeah, we're gonna skip over that one. Well, Cliff Poo was a prospect that was throwing the Jeff Skinner deal.
I was gonna
so-
say 2 notes on that one. Pooh was the prospect in the Skinner deal, and Jordan Wheel is a top 5 face-off winner, percentage-wise on the year. So
because everybody on Philly is.
I said Jerko. Oh, I didn't say the wheel one.
sorry, I'm
Yeah, sorry.
jumping
I-
ahead.
Yeah,
I'm
sorry, I just did that deal first. But yes, thank you. Jordan Wheel got traded to the Montreal Canadiens in exchange for Michael Chaput on. Yeah.
Chaput's played a lot of games this year with Detroit, Montreal, right?
Yeah.
And you don't like that?
Well, like he has played a lot in the minors, like too. I guess. Like I think he's only played about 30 games or so, because the 4th line center position, like for the first half of the year, it fluctuated between Matthew Pekka, Matthew Pekka, and him.
Okay.
And Nate Thompson was recently acquired, so he kind of took that role. So yeah,
He was expendable.
Chaput got put on waivers. Nobody claimed him. So, I mean, Wheel is younger, and I know he's a little bit more expensive, but he is a top tier faceoff guy. He can skate. If you look at his stats, even his stats this year aren't like totally terrible. I mean, he had 9 points in 20 games with Philly, getting like decent minutes. I mean, and if he can keep up with the Habs, I mean, that's a pretty good ad. Just a bottom 6 guy. I would have him better than Hudon. I was surprised that he wasn't dealt at the deadline this time of year. He's had a hard time getting into the lineup. Anyways,
I like the Habs not actually realistically buying anything. I don't think they're in a position to.
didn't give up much, and they got younger and faster.
Yeah.
So
And they said they weren't going to be giving away assets and all that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's fine. This is a fine deal. Next up, Colorado Avalanche acquiring centerman Derek Brassard and a conditional 2020 6th-round pick in exchange for a 2020 3rd-rounder. Colorado lacks quality NHL forwards. this is a quality NHL forward,
This is a guy who can give that depth.
and you're giving up a 2020 third rounder. That's all I have to say about this deal.
That's good.
You're getting better. Gonna take some pressure off Kerfoot for the second line center spot.
How old is Kerfoot?
23.
Young.
Yeah, under 25.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he hasn't really.
He
He
was-
hasn't proved anything.
He was a
by
college
any
player,
means.
right? So he could be a little bit older, but yeah, he is quite young.
Yeah.
And Jost is the other center on that team, so
Yes.
it's very young.
But Jost has been a lot more playing a lot of.
Inconsistent.
Well, no, it's just he plays everywhere for them.
Well, I think with the new lineups, it's like they split up the top three. So it's Rantanen, Landeskog, and McKinnon are all on separate lines with Jost, and Jost and Kerfoot get one gets Rantanen, one gets Landeskog. So I think I like the move for Colorado. I think it's also a very low buy for Brassard, only being a third.
Brassard hasn't been that good though. Like he's got like 20 points or.
He hasn't been
maybe-
great.
Is it 20 points or 30 points in the year? I think it's 20. But anyways,
Yeah, I still thought like it was only last year he was going to go for a first.
I know
So
exactly.
like
That's the crazy thing about it.
yeah, I think it's a low risk buy for Colorado.
Exactly. Another deal. Adam McQuaid went to the Columbus Blue Jackets in exchange for Julius Bergman, who they got from Ottawa in the Duchesne deal, and a 2019 4th and 7th rounder. Depth move. I was really surprised. I don't even think McQuaid is even a top 6D on Columbus. I would have him as a scratch.
Yeah. Well, if you look at the Jets, it's kind of the same thing. They're kind of.
But they gave up a 4th and a 7th for this guy. And
That is true. We only.
I think Beaulieu is a better defenseman than McQuaid. I think he's washed up. I know McQuaid's also won
Really?
a cup. I know McQuaid's also won a cup, and that
I think it's kind of different.
has its value. But
Yeah.
as far as like from what I've seen, I also think his legs are shot. I don't think he can skate to.
It's different skills because if you look at McQuaid, he's the stay-at-home defenseman of all stay-at-home defensemen.
Exactly.
He blocks shots. He gets back, and you will never see him inside the offensive blue line. But if you look at, you're saying with Beaulieu, I don't really watch much of
Yeah.
Beaulieu, but you're saying it's like he does have the offensive upside, but he also can fuck up some
Yeah.
plays. McQuaid's not going to do that. McQuaid is very, what's the word I'm looking for? Reliable. There's the word. So
I don't think he's
Kinda
even that
different players.
reliable though. I never really thought he was with Boston. Even I thought he just kind of
I think
he had a good cast around him that made him look a lot
yeah,
better
you
than he
could
was.
say that, yeah.
But I don't know. They didn't give up much for him. It's a 4th
Yeah,
and a 7th
exactly.
for fuck's sake, and they're already going all out. So who really cares, right? Like, I'm just saying that you know what for a
If you're
7th
gonna go all out,
defenseman.
get
For a
out of
7th
McQuaid.
defenseman, I was like, really? Like Harrington and Nudivara, I have a little bit higher up, and then Murray, Savard, Werenski, and Jones are definitely better. So
That's a great name in the NHL, by the way. Nudivera.
Nudivara, yeah.
Oh, it's a great first name.
Next deal, Calgary defenseman. The only deal Calgary
Sorry.
made.
Oh, I wanted to mention one more thing with McQuaid.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
I was just gonna second your point about him being a little bit too expensive in terms of what they traded. Like you look at in terms of comparisons, the couple guys the Jets got, Beaulieu or the guy from Florida who it starts with a K.
Sound
It starts with a K.
Keslavec.
Keslavich.
I've also pronounced it different like every single time. I'm covering my bases. boys.
Regardless, I think McQuaid is essentially the same as both of those guys. So if one was a 4th and a 7th, and the other was a 6th, the other was a 7th. Like I think they did
Yeah.
spend a little much, but in the end, it's a 4th or a 6th round pick. It does not a huge deal.
The other thing is, I believe that Boston traded McQuaid to the Rangers for a 4th, a 7th, and Kampfer.
Oh, okay.
And the fact that they just flipped it for a 4th, a 7th, and another random defenseman who's under contract this year.
It just seems to line up. Make sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, they know it. You definitely know what his value is.
Yeah. But
That's like, what's his name? Fucking.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't remember. Guy Dallas.
Alexiak.
Lexiak, there
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
Anyways, Calgary Flames, the only move they made, acquiring Oscar Fattenberg from the LA Kings for a conditional 2020 4th round pick.
No idea who that is.
So I'm not going to really dive into the trade, but the next trades are the biggies, so we're not really going to talk about Calgary for too much. So I'm going to just mention right now, was this enough?
No.
No.
I think this is the most disappointing team for the day.
Well,
Yeah.
yes, I would have to. I would have to agree because you look at the other the top 5 teams in the West, the other 4 got considerably better, and Calgary got Fattenberg. Or
I thought you were gonna say fat, and I was like,
I know.
you know what? Yeah.
Fattenberg's like, I didn't know you're.
Just because of the Flames.
I don't know. Like, and listen, they said they almost had a deal late last night, but something fell through.
That was with Stone.
So that's and I think you know what I honestly think it came down to. I think that they could have had like a fair offer from Calgary, and they liked it just as much as the Vegas one. And I think it came down to them asking Stone, saying, "Okay, if we deal you, would you consider signing an extension with one of Vegas or Calgary?" And I bet you he was like, "I want to play for Vegas over Calgary," and I bet you that was a
and there
large
was conditions in that trade. Yeah.
Yeah.
I could see that.
So, okay, so I do think that Calgary kind of botched that. I think they should have at least gotten something.
Yeah.
But
I think the other team, but we'll say on the disappointed, is Pittsburgh. That was the other team that I kind of think. But I'll just throw that out there.
well, we're gonna get into them because they did make a trade today. But we're gonna talk about the big one because that's the next up on my list here. The Vegas Golden Knights making the big move, acquiring Mark Stone from the Ottawa Senators, along with forward prospect Tobias Lindberg, who they actually got from Vegas before, which is kind of funny. In exchange for defenseman Eric Brandstrom, who is undoubtedly one of the best defensive prospects in the league.
Sorry, I just realized that it's Tobias Lindberg for Oscar Lindberg.
Yeah.
I didn't fucking realize that at
Tobias
first.
Lindbergh, I was like, I think he fucked that up because I'm pretty sure he went back the other way.
Oh, okay.
But okay.
Yeah.
I read it before, but I didn't put it together that it's both Lindbergs. Screw
Are
you
they
guys.
brothers?
I only saw the one Lindbergh actually, and then
don't
they
think so.
updated it.
Because
Yeah.
What? That's so weird.
But yeah, Oscar Lindbergh went to Ottawa and a 2020 second rounder from Dallas. Oh yeah, and to mention, Mark Stone also signed a 8-year, $9.5 million deal with the Vegas Golden
Marner's
Knights.
worth 9.5.
Okay, so there's a lot to dive. There's a lot to unpack here.
I want to talk about what Vegas got and what Ottawa got
Okay,
first.
so we want to do Vegas. Okay,
Like,
you got your number one forward. You get a top line winger.
is Mark Stone the best forward on this team,
Yes,
talent-wise?
yes. That's and
I think so.
and also I don't think that's close.
You don't think that's close?
No.
Who's second?
Marchessault?
Dude, if you're looking at like points for every 60 and quality of line mates and all that, Tuck has to be 2. Tuck has been way better than Tuck has been way, and if you watch the games too, plays defense, hits, skates. Carlson's been brutal. Stastny's been hurt.
Who called it?
Marchessault only can just shoots. Like he gets a ton of points too. But
My favorite part about who called it is that you drafted him in fantasy
I know
hockey.
that's the best part.
I was winning in one of them, and it wasn't fantasy where the money counted.
Okay, so so Vegas gets a long-term top 6 forward.
Yeah.
We'll say top 6 because we don't know if he'll be the top line guy for the whole run. But let's look at what Vegas has here. They have Stone signed for this year plus 8. You got Stastny for this year plus 2. You got Riley Smith locked up for this year plus 3. Marchessault this year plus 5. Patches has a 4-year extension kicking in next year. Alex Tuck has a 6-year deal kicking in next year. You got Shea Theodore who signed, what was it, a 6-year deal at the beginning of this
so
year?
5 more years.
So this plus 5, yeah.
Schmidt's got,
I think it was a 7-year deal. I think he has this and 6.
Okay.
Colin Miller this year plus 3. McNabb this year plus 3.
And doesn't Schmidt have a contract?
And Schmidt has a 6-year deal too.
Yeah.
They have their whole core locked up long term. The only significant player they don't have locked up long term is William Karlsson, who's at 5.25. He's an RFA this year. And guess what's going to happen over the offseason?
They're going to sign him?
They're going to sign him and lock him up too.
What's up with Fleury's contract?
He has this year at 5.75, and then his extension kicks in for 3 years.
Oh, I forgot that they extended him already.
Yeah.
So, dude, Vegas is looking good.
Vegas is really, yeah.
They
have
built
all
a
their-
fucking good team.
Yeah, and now it's like, what now? You still have Eric Hall, who is this year and the next at under $3 million, and he was a second-line center for them last year. I mean, man, I really like a lot of the things that they've done. I mean, I think Patches is probably getting a little too much money. I think they were a little quick giving him the extension without seeing how he was this year, but you look at Vegas' top 9, it's a competitive top 9 league. It might be one of the best in the league.
They wouldn't have got Patches if they didn't make the extension though.
Yes.
Because that was the whole thing with him not going to LA was the extension needed to be there. Let's talk about what's going to Ottawa. They get Oscar Lindbergh, who I think is pretty help me, is pretty. Thank you.
Negligible?
Thank you. I couldn't say that word today.
Come on. You can
I'll
do
be
it.
completely
Come
honest.
on.
I was like, yeah, do it. Let's
I'll try it later. I'm gonna try it later. We'll come back to it.
He's gonna incorporate that into a sentence later on the show.
Yeah, I'll do it in 3 stars.
Stay tuned for that.
So, when you're getting down to it, Lindbergh was a scratch for Vegas. He never really fit in. They took him because he was a 25-year-old guy who was kind of a fringe player, third line, bottom 6 guy on the Rangers, and thought, you know what, maybe we can turn him into something. Didn't really work out. Second-round pick's always nice. Brandstrom. This is I don't think people are freaking out enough about this. This is one of the best prospects to be dealt in a while, in my opinion.
Okay.
Like, I'm trying to think of
Something similar.
like I think Brandstrom will be a better defenseman than Sergachev. Like, that's the.
I would also agree with that. Just having seen him at the World Juniors, I think he's a dynamite defender.
Well, I think about when's the last time an offensive defenseman prospect
Was traded.
was dealt, and it's like a guy this good. It doesn't happen.
I can't think of one.
Yeah, in my opinion, I was talking about this earlier with a few other people. I have Brandstrom ranked probably like the second best defensive prospect.
Evan Bouchard first.
I would have Hughes.
From Vancouver?
Vancouver. I thought he was absolutely nasty. I've seen.
Oh, he's so good.
He's got all these YouTube clips too, but
Bastard.
regardless, you're getting a Brandstrom and Shabbat on your defense long term. That's
Money.
that will get people to come to Ottawa.
That's money.
And when you really look about it, when you look at it, you're dealing a 20 Stone. How old is he? 27, 28. 'Cause he's a free agent, I guess.
27.
You're dealing a 27-year-old in his prime in exchange for a 19-year-old stud who's gonna be running your team long term. That's a really good deal for Ottawa, and I don't even think they should be mad. Like, I know how great Stone was, and I know that not getting a first is like a big deal, but Brandstrom's worth it. You were not going to get offered a better asset than Brandstrom.
The two things I heard on Trade Center when I was watching today is that one anonymous GM who was involved in the Stone sweepstakes was reported saying that, like, admitted at, like, once they saw the trade, saying
Can't beat it.
we could not offer better than that trade. Like, seeing what Ottawa traded them, they said we couldn't have beat that. And the second thing is that Craig Button, and I know position-wise this doesn't make sense or anything, but he was trying to tell Ottawa fans to calm down because initially everyone goes, what the hell, there's no first-round pick for Stone. Duchesne got 2, we didn't get 1 for Stone, blah, 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 blah. He said back when he was a GM in Calgary, they traded Joe
Nieuwendyk for Jerome McGinley.
And Iginla was like, I don't think had played in the NHL yet, or if he had, was like it was a no-namer. And Nieuwendyk was I think cup winner and a first line center.
Yeah.
And everyone was like freaking out in Calgary, and then obviously everyone knows who Jerome McGinley is at this point. So
He's that guy.
At this point.
The guy who doesn't have a cut. Moving on.
but yeah,
I
he's got 600 career goals
Yeah.
though. So
It helps both teams do what they need to do. It gives Ottawa somebody to build around, and it gives Vegas a guy to build around winning now.
the only thing I think is, I know a lot of the times with these trades, you get lots of times you get quantity over quality. Where like Carlson, I think they got six
Yes.
assets for Carlson, but we all looked at it and kind of went, you didn't really get like a stud. Whereas in this situation, they went for quality over quantity. They got
Yeah.
a second
got
round.
the guy.
Yeah, you got the prospect that everyone's looking at. So if Brandstrom is everything people say he is, then it looks like a good deal. But who knows? This is one knee injury from being like the worst trade in Ottawa history.
I don't think that's gonna be the case though. I think it's gonna work out. And if anything, I think this could look really bad for
Vegas.
because just judging off of Stone, like giving him an 8-year deal and he's not a fast guy and it's a fast league.
We talked about that, about
like,
the speed of the team.
I'm kind of thinking the same thing with Pacioretty. It's like kind of similar.
Well,
Oh.
that's
Big
why
guy
I
coming
think
out
it
of
works.
somewhere.
Like Vegas is so heavily invested in big, heavy, like a big, heavy
Yeah.
game. Like you're gonna win that way, or
And in
or you're
4
not.
years, when Pacioretty and Stone are 30, 32, and like are slowing down, I think they're going to be even more. Like, obviously, they'll be slower, so I think it'll
Yeah.
be more apparent, more of a more big issue
Yeah.
for the team.
Yeah.
they're just hoping that's way down the road. They're hoping that's not in 3 years, where that or 2 or 3 years. Where
Yeah, hopefully it's in
Yeah.
6 years with only a couple years left.
Alrighty, so other trades?
Yeah, I was gonna
You
say.
wanna
You know
toss out
what?
there?
It was that fucking who's the guy on the panel that said it? It was Pierre Maguire. He said, "You know what the Jets are hoping for right now? Absolute silence. You don't want to hear any Western teams making deals." And they announced that Stone goes to like the second that he says that out loud, they go, "Oh yeah, we have to go trade breakers. Let's go to Gordon, the guys in the back."
Go to Gordon.
And it's fucking Mark Stone, fucking Mark Stone going to Vegas, and then on top of it all, oh yeah, Nashville deals Granlund for Fiala.
Okay, what the
What
fuck
kind
is
of
that?
value is that?
What is that?
You're getting a Jesus. You're getting a top. In my opinion, Granlund is a top 90 forward. He's a top line, at least a top six, like a very good top 6 forward. Fiala, in my opinion, hasn't established himself as a second liner. He's second line, third line, whatever.
And I totally agree.
Granlund is signed this year and the next at 5.75, which is super reasonable. Which I
And
think
what's
definitely
Fiala at?
works. He's at RFA at the end of the year, so it gives
at least his RFA.
it gives Minnesota options, and I get that they're getting younger and whatever. You gotta get more than that
You
for
have
fucking
to
Granlund. Are you
get
kidding
more.
me? How did nobody offer more than that? I even read that Granlund was available like the last week, and I was a little
To
bit,
Winnipeg.
and I was like, you know what? He would. Well, the only thing is he has the 1 year. He has another year after.
So Winnipeg, we needed the rental.
Yeah, we needed.
Yeah, we needed the rental, and
But
I was
still,
surprised. I thought Montreal would be a little bit more into it.
even that, yeah.
Because you know what? They have the worst power play. You know what? Getting a guy who gets
Definitely work it around on that.
ton of points. Although pumped that he got dealt to Nashville because my fantasy team, I dealt Furland and Schmidt for Pulock and Granlund, and now Granlund goes to Nashville.
and
It's
Ferland's
like,
staying in Carolina.
yeah, no, I'm like,
Did not get
that
traded.
really
today.
worked out well.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I
love the
hate-
deal. Love the deal for Nashville. Fenton, what the hell are you doing right now? Dealing Niederreiter and Granlund for Fiala and Rask. That is not.
That's two terrible
You know what?
trades.
You know what? You never know though, because you know what? I thought the Galchenyuk Domi deal was like this one, and it turned out being
yeah.
it okay. So you know what? Maybe Fiala can turn it on in Minnesota.
Dude, I
'Cause-
remember before Kevin Fiala broke his femur, he was highly touted. I remember being so fucking fast. That injury hurt his career. Like,
Yeah.
I think that injury is going to cost him millions in his lifetime because of how much it's affected him. He's not as fast as he was before, but there's obviously it's happened before. He's had shown flashes, so maybe a good working out in the off season, or can finally find the form from before. But yeah, it seems like that leg injury really hurt him.
The other thing to consider, Fenton. Maybe you know something we don't, because Fenton was an assistant general manager for the Preds, and he did draft Fiala. So like, you gotta think of these things too, I guess.
I never looked at it that angle.
Yeah.
That is a good point.
Nashville also made another trade after that, just under the wire actually, trading for Wayne Simmons from the Philadelphia Flyers in exchange for forward Ryan Hartman and a conditional 2020 fourth-round pick. Ryan Hartman was actually acquired by Nashville at last year's deadline for a first-round pick, and now you're flipping that for Wayne Simmons. What are your thoughts on that?
I think this is the way better move for Nashville.
Yep.
Over I think this is a
Yeah.
bigger one than the Fiala for Granlund one.
Oh, really?
Because I think Wayne Simmons affects your power play. And I think you said Montreal had the worst power play in the league. I know for a fact Nashville has the worst power play in the West, and it might be the worst in the league. So I think Wayne Simmons jumping on that team. He hasn't been.
You think Wayne Simmons helps the power play for Nashville more than Granlund?
Yes. Because Wayne Simmons is a power play. This year hasn't been the best, but he's after
usually
Ovi, he's the
very good.
leading power play goal getter for like the last 6 years.
That's,
After Ovi, it's him.
yeah.
Yeah. The big thing with Nashville though is and you can look at it with Montreal too. It's the reason why you don't have guys who can score on the power plays because you don't have guys who can shoot. You have your Subban and you have your Weber who can absolutely rip, but the problem was you didn't have any forwards who could line up on the top of the circle and shoot like the guys like Ovi and Stamkos and Laine and guys like that. And I don't really see Simmons as that. Simmons gets power play goals by
In the
standing in
crease.
front of the net and doing that sort of thing. And I thought that's what they were doing when they got Brian Boyle. Because he already played power play with New Jersey. He's already playing power play for them right now. I don't know. We'll see what they end up doing with it, but
I
I don't think Hartman's that much worse than Simmons. I think they're essentially a wash. I mean, I guess I'd rather have Simmons, but I think it's way close. I think it's way closer than the value between Fiala and Granlund, especially short term.
I don't know. I think Simmons is going to be a bigger impact for Nashville. I think just because of the style he plays, the physical way, and
That's true.
he's been part of a lot of playoff series before. Like, I think it works out. I think it's going to work out really well for them.
And you know what? Listen, I like it from Philly too, because Philly said it's not like we want to acquire draft picks and prospects or whatever. Like, we want guys who can also play. So by getting a guy like Hartman, you're getting a guy
Who's
cracking
23,
your lineup.
23 NHL player.
Yeah.
top 9 forward
Yep.
who plays gritty, plays a Philly type of game. So you know what?
That is, I didn't even think of that. That is a perfect fit for them.
Yeah, you can sell people on Ryan Hartman as a younger, gritty guy who can maybe put up 30 points on a year.
Yeah.
And he plays all the forward positions too. Like, I really like it from Philly's perspective personally, but especially because you're getting him, you know what, on a more controlled cost.
Yeah.
And you know what, Simmons might not have even re-signed, so I like it for Philly.
Is there any other
There's
big
one
ones?
more notable one. Marcus Johansson to the Bruins.
For a 2019 second rounder and a 2020 fourth rounder. You were talking about Coyle being like the perfect fit for the Bruins and this being like a great fit and all that. This guy is the exact opposite of that.
And I have even more to pile on about that
Oh,
point.
well, you got him. Him and Marchand have a little bit of a history.
Yes.
So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens there.
It's like the Oilers signing Brandon Manning. Oh,
Yes.
Wait.
Yeah.
Oh, fucking wait.
And also, you were talking earlier and you said that Coyle is the ideal winger to play with DeBrusk and Krejci. I see it being more Marcus Johansson. Having said that, Pasternak is out right now. So with
One of
Pasternak
them's
out,
got
you
to
might
fill in there.
have to have Coyle and Johansson as your top 2 right wingers.
And then, oh no, you're going to have Coyle as your third line center after that.
Yeah. So like that's a good way to build your.
If you're a playoff team like Boston is, I think it's great.
And you know what? A second round pick is fair value. You got a 4th on top of it. Good for New Jersey. Good for Boston. I guess it helps. It helps you stay more competitive.
One thing I thought the Devils would try and sell harder. Like, they're a crap team. Like, I know they don't have so many like UFAs or anything really to sell, but like I thought they would they sold Kincaid for a 5th and they sold Johansson.
They sold Johansson for a 2nd and 4th. They sold Brian Boyle earlier
Brian
for
Boyle,
a 2nd.
right? That was a few weeks ago. I just thought they would try and do more Ottawa and try and sell like all their guys. Try and like.
The only thing is they didn't have any guys who are real UFAs.
I know they don't have the
this
UFA
year.
situation, but like, I don't know. I feel like there's like everyone's trying to upgrade D at this point. Like they don't have a like John Moore type of guy or like a Adam Green. I don't fucking know. Like someone back there that's like.
The only guys on 1-year deals that they had were Eric Gryba, Mirko Mueller, who could have been something, but he's young, so I think they want to keep him around. Igor Yakovlev, who I actually heard was available,
Okay.
but I'm assuming since
Wasn't
you've
for
never
much.
heard of him, Neither have any of their GMs. Will Butcher isn't getting dealt, and Connor Carrick was just acquired for Lovejoy.
For Love,
so-
I was
and
just
Lovejoy
about
they
to
also
say.
traded.
Right,
so
there, I forgot about
Lovejoy,
They've dealt
yeah.
a few vets. They've loaded up. They got an extra 2 picks in the second round and 2 in the third.
Yeah.
But they also dealt their own third-round pick, but that's beside the point.
Yeah.
Fact is that they have, 6 picks in the first 93 selections, which isn't bad. We're just
Anything
going to
else?
fire up all the little trades. Michael Del Zotto to the St. Louis Blues for a 2019
weird.
6th-rounder.
Don't care.
This was actually a decent one. It was Tanner Pearson heading to the
Goodbranson.
Vancouver Canucks for Eric Goodbranson on Pittsburgh. Because you were talking about Pittsburgh
Not doing much.
not doing much, and this was the one move they made. And people were wondering because Dumoulin got smoked by Simmons, and Letang ended up getting hurt in a fight afterwards, which was just absolutely
Great timing.
perfect. Yeah, exactly. And people were wondering what kind of moves are Pittsburgh going to make because you have to replace this defensive depth. And I believe they also ended up acquiring Chris Weidman off Florida for Jean-Sebastien Dier.
That is what I have as the final trade of the day. Like
That was your okay. well,
that's what I have as the last sent through trade.
Yes, they dealt for a couple defensemen. What are your thoughts though? Are you a Goodbranson fan? Because I think Goodbranson might be one of those guys that everyone either really likes the way he plays and likes his stay-at-home presence and
Grittiness.
all this crap, or you're like he's useless. He doesn't really produce any offense. This and that, the other.
See, I think I'm kind of converting more towards the he's useless side because I've always had hope in him. He was a high draft pick, and he's but now this is his third team because I think he was Florida, then Vancouver, and now Pittsburgh. So maybe this is a situation where he was with teams that don't know how to like farm their players properly, and now he's in a successful team like Pittsburgh, and maybe he'll have success. But I think he's just another bottom pair, like second. Maybe for Pittsburgh, he'll be top pair with all the injuries they have. But they also had Dumoulin as the top pair last year too. So
This deal makes that Jack Johnson signing look so much fucking worse.
you
Jack
think
Johnson's now your 6th highest paid defenseman at $3.25 million.
he's their 6th highest paid
6th
defense?
highest paid defenseman.
Who's in front of
And
that?
he is signed for this year plus 4 at 3.25. That
Okay.
is horrible.
List the
Letang's getting 7.25.
yeah.
Schultz is getting 5.5. Dumoulin's getting 4.1. Mata's getting 4.1, and Goodbranson's getting 4.
How much longer is Matta getting that money?
This year plus 3. Goodbranson this year plus 2.
Oh boy.
And then Johnson and Dumoulin are signed for this plus 4. Like, all their guys are also locked up, like, long-term, too. So,
Damn.
I do not like that back end.
it's slow.
It's slow and way too much.
Goodbranson, Johnson, Mata, and Dumoulin. Dumoulin's not even the best skater either.
Which you
Schultz
do have,
and
you do have
Pop-
Letang, who's a great skater, but
And Schultz is pretty good, too. But,
Dude, yeah.
man,
The
that's
year
a
they won
lot
the
of
cup,
money
they
that's
didn't have
locked
Letang
up.
though. Like they had
That's
that
insane,
team
yeah.
minus Letang and Schultz
True.
for part of it. Like
yeah.
You just know Mata's going to come to Montreal.
Who are they rocking as their top line D that year? Was it Dumoulin?
well, Schultz was for most of the run, but he got hurt near the end. So
Yeah,
it was like
concussed, yeah.
dude, it was like Dumoulin and
Weedle was in there. I remember he played.
No, there was one name
Check.
that had like so many minutes and he was just playing the best hockey he's ever fucking played, and like that was it. But it might have been
Didn't
Dumoulin.
they have Daly? Daly was on that
Yep,
team.
Daly was
on that
Hainsey
team.
was on that team.
There it was, Hainsey. That was the guy who I was thinking.
Yeah.
He played a bunch of fucking minutes.
That was his cup win.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Oh God. Hey, now he's with Toronto. No.
I like the move for Vancouver. I think you're getting a. Listen, Goodbranson was getting $4 million, and I think that you know what they have guys who can step up and play more minutes. I think this means that Tanev is probably going to stay longer than people think, but I think you're going to give more minutes to guys like Stetcher and
Quinn Hughes.
Quinn Hughes when he ends up making the jump. Yeah, I like the move. I wouldn't be surprised to see Levy get called up for the last bit to see if he's worth anything at all.
The only thing that scares me about them getting Pearson is yes, he's got the upside. He's a fast player, kind of like fits in a little bit with their system. But the fact that he's now on his third team of the year is a little bit sketchy. Like you always gotta look
Yeah.
at those situations. Like why are you getting traded so much? But I don't know. I haven't heard anything about off-ice issues regarding him or anything. So,
Well, you heard that thing I was talking about with Colorado saying like a quality NHL forward.
yes.
That is what Pearson is. I think Pearson can. I got an idea. I think he's a third liner. I think he's
Yeah.
a third
on,
line
on most teams. It's
on
like,
most lines.
he'll
He's
be
like
playing.
he's a decent third line forward, and you're getting that for a top 6 defenseman.
Okay. I'd agree with
And
that.
I think there's more upside to Pearson than there is to
Gudbranson.
Gudbranson. Gudbranson, you know what you're getting.
Yeah.
Whereas Pearson, you know what? You could get potentially a 45, 50-point season.
You'd hope anyway.
You would hope. Yeah.
Alrighty. Well,
Wow, that was a lot of hockey talk.
That was all
a
of the
lot
deal.
more exciting than last
Oh,
year.
actually, the very last one right here,
Jesus
yeah.
Christ.
It was Jonathan Dahlin, the guy that Vancouver got for Burrows. I mentioned this last week.
The
how
two names in this are so
Vancouver-
deceiving. I saw it was Darlene for Carlson. Someone tweeted out, it was
Especially
like,
because it's Carlson getting dealt from
San Jose
to
for,
Vancouver.
Yeah, for Darlene, and I was like, oh no, wait. Kind of tickled my fancy a little, and all of a sudden, yeah, no, I saw the
That
first
would have
name.
been a
Could
bombshell.
you imagine?
Yeah. I fucking hate that trade. We're not talking
Stone's the
about it.
biggest
We
deal
don't
of
care.
the biggest deal of the day. Hold my beer. Fuck.
We're not talking about that trade. Fuck that trade.
But yeah, anyways, I was really confused. I thought Dahlin was a good prospect for Vancouver. Guess he's not paying out. Good for San Jose for jumping on it. I don't know. That's about it.
Sure.
That is trade deadline.
Are we going to do 3 stars?
We got to do it 3 stars.
I think we have to have a winners and losers segment. It's hard to kind of
Do it. So should we each have one?
Okay, well,
I got mine.
I have a group loser, and we all talked about it already, but it's Calgary.
Calgary.
Okay, so you have Calgary. Calgary was the team that you think didn't do.
Well, it's because of it's not so much that they didn't do anything; it's the fact that
What-
everyone else did.
Yeah.
There's 5 powerhouses in the West on paper, and 4 of them got substantially better, with Hayes, Simmons, Granlund, Stone, and Nyquist.
Okay.
Like, then they add Fattenberg, and it's like fucking.
Yeah.
They get
Alright.
better.
How about you? Do you have a?
I think Pittsburgh's another one.
Okay, yeah, you had Pittsburgh just because they didn't.
They didn't do anything as well, and it's like you'd think they'd be making that playoff
You're
push,
you're
and
grinding it out.
you're trying to get into the playoffs again. It's Pittsburgh; they usually are, but I guess they're kind of doing the whole thing where they stick to their core guys. And the fact that if you're looking at Letang and Dumoulin out, it's gonna be pretty hard. I know they did in the playoffs and everything, and we kind of sold them out, but you never know.
My biggest loser, I talked about it a little bit. Definitely Minnesota. Not only because I think they got worse today, but like, what kind of message does that show to your group? Like, Minnesota's in a playoff spot right now. They are 8th.
And Boudreaux went on record like 2 weeks ago saying we're making it.
Guaranteeing it.
Having said that, I didn't like any of the moves that they made as far as trades go, but they re-signed Eric Stahl for a 2-year, $3.25 per extension.
I did not see that at
I
all.
honestly didn't see that either.
Yeah, and I thought that was a pretty good move on
I was
their
gonna say
part.
because the only thing I saw about Eric
3.25
Staal-
you said for 2 years?
That's good for Eric Stahl.
That's actually way cheaper than I thought they were going to get him
Yeah.
for.
Yeah, I thought he was
So-
gonna get like $4.5 million, but nope, he took a cap-friendly deal because they even said we can deal you.
And he didn't want to.
You can contend for a team, then
Yeah.
sign with whoever. And he's
Yeah.
like, no, I like it here.
Good on,
Clearly
good
he
on
did to
Eric
take
Stahl then.
3.5 or take a
Discount.
yeah, he took a discount.
Yeah.
He took less money than he did
In
before,
Minnesota.
and he did way better. Whatever. If he's happy, I'm happy.
Who are you guys' winners? Who's your top?
Dude, there's a lot. It's the West. The West got just so much better and so much more interesting.
I think
but
it's the West and Columbus.
Oh, yeah.
You gotta add Columbus in there. The fact, and I think it's gonna be
I'm
fun
giving,
hockey
actually,
to watch.
you know what? I'm gonna give Columbus the edge because I think that they established themselves as a content. They have a team that might make the top 4. Like, people are saying, you know what? It's all about winning a round and this and that and the other. If they're in a group with Washington, New York, and Montreal, I like Columbus more than the rest of those teams.
I agree. I would well, Washington's the cup champ, so you can't count them out, but
I can't count them out, but just like if they were going head to head, I would take Columbus. I don't know what Holtby's about. Don't really trust that.
wheels could fall off at any point. They have miles on them as a team. I don't know.
It's obviously hard to say because the Islanders have been really good too. They didn't make a move, but they have the best goals allowed in the league, and then Montreal has Carey Price. So really, it could be anyone's. It's up for grabs, and Carolina and Pittsburgh could still jump in that spot and play those guys too. And I personally wouldn't want to play Pittsburgh too much, but I could see Columbus winning a couple of rounds. And they haven't won a round before, and they were already going to lose guys. So why not just go out swinging?
I'm going to say a winner is Tampa Bay. Because not only did they not do anything, I don't think they needed to do anything with their team. They're still the favorite. Because we talked about it. I don't know if there was anything any team could do to make themselves better. But Panarin didn't go to one of the powerhouses. Had Panarin gone to Nashville, I think suddenly now there's a power struggle. But I don't think anyone got substantially better, good enough to take Tampa's favorite away from them. And I know you
That's
can't.
another team. They did nothing.
But I think they're a winner for that. I don't think they needed to.
They don't need to. And I kind of put Edmonton in the same boat. I know it's kind of that's my favorite team. I'm gonna gravitate to them. But the fact that Edmonton doesn't have a GM, nothing like that, I think it's great that they didn't do anything.
I think it's great they didn't do anything stupid, but I think they're a loser because I think they should have sold. They should have sold Chasen.
Yep, Chasen
for sure should have got traded. They could have got
a third at least for a guy they signed on a PTO and probably isn't going to be anything much after this year. I think he's going to re-sign with Edmonton. I think he's going to be another bad contract for Edmonton, but they could have had a third-round pick instead. But nope, they decided to have a bad contract.
I'm fine with him. I like Chasen. But yeah, no, I guess that I'm kind of on the whole thing of I'm glad they didn't do anything because if you're not doing anything, you can't do anything stupid. And being a timid Oiler fan, and you've seen our GMs, we have Keith Gretzky right now, and he's not really a GM.
I'm gonna toss out another loser, the NHL.
Wow.
Do you know where I'm going with this? I'm upset with how late the deals come in. So,
dude, that is the dumbest thing.
Weirdest thing ever.
3 o'clock Eastern.
Yeah.
3 o'clock Eastern. So 2 o'clock Central Time, our time. I was still getting notifications for deals coming through by 4.
45 minutes.
Dude, it was 2 hours. Dude, it was 2 hours later, and I was refreshing and still getting deals. Obviously, I saw on Twitter what had already happened, but the confirmation.
Backup of what is that?
It's got, and I understand that you can't just if me and you make a trade at 2:56, we can't just if 3 o'clock's the deadline, 2:56, and then it's not done at 2:57. It's got to get approved by the league with money, and maybe there's a physical. I don't know how. I know there's physicals in a lot of other sports with trades and stuff, but
Soccer.
yeah, but
they were joking, saying that they should just get the people to call in the trades to the guys at Trade Center.
Yeah,
that would be so cool.
Dude, and so that part kind of frustrates me. I know it has to happen, and lots of the time there are hoops to jump through.
Yeah.
But 2 hours after it happens, they gotta have that cleaned up. It's gotta be sooner, or make the deadline 5 o'clock, and then I don't know,
period or something.
Yeah,
like that.
something like that where it's.
Yeah.
I don't know. To me, it's weird for that way. So.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Happy Trade Center.
Yeah.
We should do a 3 stars and then wrap her up. And
yeah.
we were gonna do a Sunnyvale report, but we'll tease that for the next episode.
Yeah, exactly. Spoilers: snap the 8-game losing skid.
1 game winning streak.
Boy.
Hello.
Alrighty, so I guess we'll hop into the 3 stars after all those great trades we heard about. And I'll start off actually. I got the 3rd star, and it kind of correlates with the Trade Center whole thing. So there's been all these terrible mascots, I guess, coming in, which I think Gritty's fantastic, but never know. So they decide to make a Trade Center mascot called Trady.
I thought it was so stupid.
Oh, I think it's the stupidest thing ever as well. But
why is he getting a 3rd
Why is
star?
he getting a 3rd star? He has a Twitter account. It's called @metrady. So kind of the @megritty kind of thing. He has 3 following and 3,000 followers. Let's go to those 3 following. We have the San Diego Chicken. No clue who that is. It's just a mascot who's a chicken. Next is Big Bird.
From Sesame Street?
From Sesame Street.
That's fine.
And the kicker, Lisa Ann.
The Lisa Ann.
The Lisa Ann. the porn star.
Yes.
No,
yes.
Okay, just in case there's listeners. So these
In
are the
case there's
3
listeners. Probably isn't, but...
No, it's just the 3 of us talking.
listeners that don't know, let me...
In case there's listeners, yep, probably not though.
These self chirps on the podcast are fucking insane. But anyways, Lisa Ann.
He follows Lisa Ann, and I think that's one of the funniest things. Do you think that's Jeff O'Neill? I think that's Jeff O'Neill pulling the trigger on following
Dude,
Lisa Ann?
if it's Jeff O'Neill, it'd be Brandy Love.
Yeah.
We all
True.
He is a known
True,
fan of Brandy
true.
Love.
Yeah. But yeah, so I'm tossing that out. It says, screw Gritty, I'm cheaper and we'll stay after for drinks. That's his Twitter bio.
Okay.
And also, this thing is the ugliest looking thing I've ever seen.
Oh yeah, that thing was hideous.
God.
Like, that is bad.
I'm glad I missed that part
Yeah.
of Trade Center.
Oh, stupid! They had him like smoking outside the studios, and he stole like a bag of chips. And then there's like kids asking for autographs from the mascot, and then he went over to like the parent and went like, "Pay me the money." And he got paid like $200 in cash, and then started signing crap for the kids. It was pretty funny, but it was still so stupid.
Listen to the case. So
Got
these are-
tackled by
You got
Jeff
more?
O'Neill.
I'm just gonna read out 2 of his tweets so far. I will say this: Scotty Upshaw is gorgeous in person. Also, I've had 5 beers at lunch.
All right.
Okay,
You just
that-
want- you-
that's
I just got fired. Lawyer up, Duffy. Tradee's coming to your house. Or coming for your house. Jesus
Okay.
Christ.
That just earned
That-
third
that's
star.
better.
I was doubtful
These
at the
are
beginning. I was doubtful
hilarious.
at the get-go,
yeah,
but
that's better. Nice turnaround. Anyways, second star.
second star goes to Shane Doan. He had his jersey retired against the Jets the other day.
Yeah.
First ever retirement in Coyotes history, or I guess technically not the franchise because there's Jets 2.0s
Yeah,
who've
so it'd
been
be like
retired,
the Arizona.
but first in Arizona Phoenix
Yeah.
history. So
Well deserved.
congratulations.
And those jerseys look fantastic.
He was a fucking awesome hockey player. Just like a solid soldier would come in
And from all
every
accounts,
game and just grind his way
yeah,
for how many years?
and from all accounts, like just the most down to earth, like family man, great teammate, great
Yeah, guy's got like 3 or 4 kids.
4 kids, and like didn't want to leave Arizona, like wanted to just keep playing there and like
There were
be
so
the man
many
there.
teams that were like, we would love to add this for a playoff run. He's like, nope, I want to be the guy in Arizona. Thanks.
Yeah, and even at 30, like when he had a chance to change teams earlier in his career, he's like, no, I'm loyal to this fan base. They've been good to me, and he's been there his whole career. So
Yeah,
good for him.
Well deserved.
First star, Lisa Ann. No, I'm just kidding. No, I got the Columbus Blue Jackets. You know what?
The big trade day winners.
They flipped the script. They went from being the biggest sellers, being like, oh, you want Bob and Panarin, this and that. It's like, you know what?
They
Fuck
did
that.
flip
We
the
were gonna
script.
get-
Holy
Dude,
shit.
Oh,
We-
yeah, they did. I love every bit of it.
We all thought they were going to be the big sellers with Bob and Panarin, but I do remember
They
talking.
played us all.
I do remember talking at the beginning that they were the team to watch. We weren't saying they're the biggest sellers or whatever. We were saying they're the most exciting team. They're the team to
Guess what?
watch
We watched.
because we didn't know what they were going to do. We thought they were going to be the seller, but they
Now they're the most improved team in the East
by a mile.
by a yeah.
Who's second?
For most improved in the
Yeah.
East,
I mean, if you
Boston.
want it, I would say,
Yeah.
well, if you're gonna get, do you count Muzzin going to Toronto?
Yeah, even if you count, I think it's still Boston.
Okay.
But
Well, I would
Yeah, I'd say
I would give it to Toronto. I think that having a top 4 D.
it's a far away second.
yeah. I think. But like that compared to getting Duchesne, Dzingel, McQuaid, Kincaid, fucking like all these
Yeah.
guys, that is hands down more valuable than getting 1 top 4 defenseman or 2 top 9 forwards. That's not even in comparison.
and now they are the most excited team going into the playoffs and into the post playoffs, into the like off season, because they have so many good UFAs and how they're gonna maneuver all this.
It's gonna be cool. It's
I
gonna
don't-
be fun.
Have fun.
Gonna be interesting.
What's his name again? The Finnish guy?
Kekalainen.
Kekalainen.
Jarmo Kekalainen.
Yeah. Alrighty, well, follow the Puck Boys on Twitter at the Puck Boys.
Yeah, sorry for the long one, fellas.
Well,
Normally
Me too.
they're a bit shorter.
Yeah.
Normally 45
Yeah.
hour. Check them out.
Guys, call us on a bad day though.
I thought it was Christmas today.
Fucking got my hopes up.
It's a lot of hockey to talk.
But it's
A
worth
lot
it.
to cover. Oh yeah, it was fun.
Have a good one.
Thanks for listening.